discussed management by objectives or MBO, that we had discussed there. Now we will be discussing the other future oriented or modern methods of performance appraisal. So next one is psychological appraisal. Now, as the name itself says, psychological appraisal. Now, these appraisals are done with the help of psychologists in the organization. The experts in the field of psychology, they are invited by the organization to conduct the psychological appraisals. Now, psychological appraisal, it concentrates not only on the past experience, but it puts more weightage on future potential of the employee. Suppose the psychologist is of the opinion that previously the employee, or in the previous year, the employee's performance was, say, average. But if he feels that the employee is having good potential in him, then definitely he is rated better by the psychologist, irrespective of his average performance. So in psychological appraisal, more weightage is given to the future potential of the employee. Now, how psychological appraisal is conducted? With the help of interviews. One-to-one interviews are organized by the between the psychologist and the employee. Then certain psychological tests are conducted by the psychologists. Then individual, so emotional, motivational, and work related behaviors are also studied by the psychologist. After studying all these things, after going through with all these things, the final report is prepared and it is submitted to the organization. So that is psychological appraisal. Now, it depends largely on the quality of psychologist. Now, whether the performance appraisal, which is conducted by a psychologist, is good or not, it all depends upon the quality of the psychologist. It should not happen that those persons who were rated better because of future potential by the psychologist were not good performer this year. So last year, when psychologist made an appraisal report, he said that following employees are having very good potential in them. So they will be better performer next year. So this year, when the performance is evaluated, if most of these employees who were earmarked for better potential, if they are not showing good potential or good performance, that means the psychological appraisal conducted last year was not up to the mark, was not good. So that depends upon the psychological appraisal. It says that it depends upon the quality of the psychologist. If the psychologist is good, if he knows his work better, then only the psychological appraisal works well. Otherwise, it is difficult because we are studying emotions of the person, feelings of the person, behavior of the person, or motivation level of the person. It is easy to study the machine because every machine will be working in the same manner. But when we talk about human beings, every human being works in a different manner because he is controlled by different emotions, different feelings, and he has altogether different work related behaviors. So it is difficult to understand or study or evaluate the human beings. Now these particular future oriented performance appraisal techniques, most of the techniques, as they are expensive in nature, as they involve experts in it, so these techniques are generally used for the employees who fall under managerial cadre in the organization. So when managers' performance are to be evaluated, then most of these techniques are used. Next one. Next one is assessment center. Now, assessment is checking, and center, it's a place. So in assessment center, what happens? The generally this is also done for managerial level people, managerial level employees. Now in assessment center, what happens is the employees who are to be evaluated for their performance, they are clubbed together in a hall, and that center is called as assessment center. There, in that particular center, their performance is assessed by the experts. Their past performance is checked by the expert depending upon their past records, that how they performed in the past, and to check their future potential, certain tests and certain interviews are conducted by the experts. And this is known as assessment center. Their performance is assessed at the center in an organization, in a seminar hall in the organization, in a meeting hall in the organization. All the managers are called and certain tests are given to them to solve. Interviews are conducted, individual and group interviews are conducted of these managers. Their past report is also studied by the expert, and depending upon their past report and their future potential, the performance appraisal reports of these managers are generated and they are submitted to the higher authorities of the organization. Now next one is called as 360-degree performance appraisal. Now 360-degree performance appraisal is the most common method which is being used in most of the large scale and multinational companies. Most of these companies are using this particular method, which is called as 360-degree performance appraisal. Now the reason why this particular method is so popular among the multinationals as well as among the large scale companies in India. The reason is very simple. In all the other performance appraisal methods, whether they are modern methods or whether they are traditional methods, there is only one person. It can be the expert who is invited from outside by the organization to rate the performance or to check the performance of the employees, or it can be the inner expert, inner manager, inner supervisor who is working within the organization, who is given the responsibility to check or to appraise the performance of the employees. So in all the other performance appraisal methods, single person is being given charge to rate the performance of say 5 people, 10 people, or 15 people, or 20 people in an organization. But 360-degree is different from all the other type of experts. all the other type of performance appraisal. Now, in simple words, the definition of 360-degree performance appraisal is that any person who comes across or who comes in contact with the person who is to be appraised, or whose performance is to be evaluated, can evaluate the performance of that employee. So if a salesperson's performance is to be evaluated, who will be evaluating the salesperson's performance? First one, his immediate boss. Second one, his colleague. Third one, his subordinate. Fourth one, the person who come in contact other than these people. Suppose if he visits to a local shop to promote the product of the company, then that local shop owner can also be one of the rater for this particular sales executive of the company. So in other methods, we have seen that one person, that is the immediate supervisor, immediate superior, immediate senior, or someone from the external or someone from the outside organization, or that is the expert, he is rating the performance of the another person. But here we are seeing that not only one person is rating the performance of the person, but here all the other person who come in contact with the person during his job, all those people are invited to rate his performance on the job. So as more people are involved, the chances of partiality becomes less. Suppose if for another rating method, if the superior who is to rate the performance of the subordinate, if the superior and subordinate are not at good terms, then what will happen? The authority lies with the superior to rate the performance of the subordinate. So he may rate the subordinate's performance with less rating points. Although the subordinate is a good performer, in actuality, his performance is good. But while rating the performance, intentionally, the rater, that is his superior, rates his performance below good performance. Why? Because he is having that authority, he can rate. And why he is rating below good performance? Because both of them are not in good terms. And in this event, at this moment, the subordinate doesn't have an authority to reach to the upper authorities and communicate to the higher authorities that the rating is not up to the mark, or intentionally the superior has rated him below average or as average employee, although he falls under the definition of good employee or good performer. So there are more chances if single person is evaluating the performance. There are less chances if more people are evaluating the performance of the employee. Here, if the superior rates his performance below and colleague rates his performance at actual, subordinate rates his performance at actual, the other person rates his performance at actual, then what will happen? When all these ratings will reach the organization, then the average of all ratings will be considered. Here, the rating of the superior will not be given more weightage. We are not saying that it will be totally ignored, but it will be given less weightage, as all the other people have rated the performance of the employee as good performance. So that is why more organizations are using this method, because of less partiality. So in 360-degree appraisal, who who evaluates? First one, top management evaluates the performance of the employee, then immediate superior, then customers, then he himself evaluate, that is self evaluation is done, then peers means colleagues, and subordinates means the people who are working below that particular person. So all these persons can have a say in the performance appraisal of an employee. That is why it is considered as one of the best performance appraisal method. Now the last one is human resource accounting. Now human resource accounting is very much similar to what we had studied under the cost accounting approach. Here also the profit and loss account is studied, that how much expenditure or how much investment has been done in terms of human resources in the organization, and what return the organization has got from that human resource. If the employee is producing more, if his output is more than the investment, then he is profitable to the organization. If his output is less than the investment, then he is not profitable for the organization. So two terms are used here. One is expenditure and the other one is investment. It is considered as investment by under human resource accounting if the output is more than the investment. In other words, it is also considered, in some cases it is considered as expenditure. In which cases it is considered as expenditure? In those where the output is less and investment is more. In such cases, it is said that expenditure was done by the organization. In other cases, where the output is more than the investment, there it is said that investment is done and now returns will be coming. So that is the human resource accounting process. So these were some of the methods of performance appraisal, traditional methods, as well as the modern methods of performance appraisal, and or future oriented or past oriented methods of performance appraisal. Next, we will be discussing now about the rating errors. As the performance appraisals are done by the superiors or human beings, there can be certain rating errors. So in broad sense, the rating errors are being defined as follows. So first rating error is the first rating error is first impression. So this can be called as rating error. Rating error means the person who is given the responsibility to rate the performance of other person. If that person makes an error in rating the performance of the employee, then it is a loss for the organization. Now, there are various types of error that we are going to discuss, and first error is called as first impression. Now, many a times, first impression becomes last impression for many employees, for many people. That a person, if we develop a good impression about that particular person, we generally ignore certain small defects of that person because we have a good impression of that person. We ignore small things which are not good of that particular person. Same is the case in the ratings also. If the manager who is given the responsibility to rate the performance of the subordinate, if the manager is having a very good impression about that subordinate in his mind, then what will he be, what his rating will be? That he will be, say, he will be ignoring small defects of that subordinate, and he will try to rate him at a higher scale. So that is called as first impression. Next one, halo effect. Under halo effect, it occurs when a supervisor's rating of a subordinate on one trait biases the rating of persons on the other trait. So one quality of the person is only taken into consideration. The other qualities are not given so much importance. So suppose, as we are saying, that a rater and the person who is to be rated, both are human beings. So there can be errors. Now in halo effect, what happens is one quality is given more weightage than the other quality. Now, for example, the person who is given the responsibility to rate the performance, that means the person who is called as rater, we will consider that he is a manager. The manager who is given the responsibility to rate the performance of other employees, that manager is very punctual. Now that particular manager, he wants everyone to be punctual, everyone to be right in time, everyone to be very disciplined about their work. That is his belief, manager's belief. Now here, halo effect means he will be giving more weightage to punctuality and discipline, and he may ignore the other important aspects of working. Important aspects means, suppose manager who gives weightage to punctuality and discipline. Now this particular manager, if he is rating the subordinate, now this particular subordinate is a good performer, his performance is always up to the mark or up to the standard set by the organization, but this particular person, he often comes say 5-10 minutes late in the organization. So we can say that he is not very punctual with time in the organization. Sometimes he comes 2 minutes late, sometimes he comes 3 minutes late, or 5 minutes or 10 minutes late. But at the end of the day, he is a performer who can be considered as a very good performer. He always achieves the target, or sometimes he exceeds the target also. But when we talk about halo effect, the weightage, the employee or the manager is very much obsessed to discipline and punctuality. When he will be rating the performance of this particular subordinate, what he will be doing? He will be giving him less marks than what he is expecting or what is expected. Why? Because he feels that if he is not punctual, if he is not disciplined, he cannot be categorized as a great employee or a good employee. So he will be giving slightly less rating to the performance of the employee. So he is ignoring the other quality of the employee, other quality of the subordinate, and he is giving more weightage, whether he is punctual or not, whether he is always in time or not, whether he is following all the rules and regulation, that is, he is properly disciplined or not, and he is ignoring certain other important aspects of working. So that is called as halo effect. Next one, horn effect. It is exactly opposite to the halo effect. Now in horn effect, what happens is the rater's bias is in the other direction, where one negative quality of the employee is being harshly rated. One negative quality is being harshly rated. Exactly opposite. There we have seen that as the manager was very much punctual or very much disciplined, so he expected that everyone should be the same type of person. So he gave more weightage to discipline and punctuality and less weightage to other aspects. Other aspects means the quality of the work or the production or output of the employee. We are not saying that the manager is completely ignoring those aspects, but the manager is giving more weightage to punctuality and discipline, and say 2-3 marks less to the output or the quality of the production. Now the next, in horn effect, one negative quality of the employee is harshly rated. Harshly rated means negatively rated. One negative quality is harshly rated. Negative quality can be that we can say that many a times the employee, or sometimes the employee, speaks to the superior or speaks to the colleagues in harsh words, in harsh language, or his voice is bit he speaks to the superior sometimes, not always, sometimes with a increased voice, with high voice, high tone. So sometimes it shows that the temperament of the employee is not matches with the temperament of the other employees or his colleagues, or sometimes superiors also. But the employee is a great employee is a very good performer. Now this is a negative quality. you cannot disobey the orders of your superior, or you cannot say talk to the superior in harsh words or in your increased tone, high tone. You are expected to follow the orders of the superior. You are expected to have good relations with the colleagues, with the subordinates. So that is expected. So this can be called as a negative quality of the person. One negative quality, that his temperament is high and he speaks to the other person in a high tone. He always tries to dominate the other person, or sometimes he tries to dominate the other person. So we will say that it's a negative quality. But when we talk about the output of the person, quality wise and production wise, his output is excellent, his output is very good. So in this way, what will happen, sometimes one negative quality is being highlighted and it overshadows the good qualities of the person. So when the manager is evaluating the performance, if he is giving more weightage to the one negative quality and he is giving less weightage to other 10 positive qualities or 5 positive qualities. One positive quality, his output is very good. Second positive quality, that his quality of production is very good, very good. Third, that whenever trainings are given, he understands everything in a very short span of time. Fourth, that his wastage is very less. So these are some of the best qualities of the employee which are good for the organization. But one negative quality, because of one negative quality, if the performance of the employee, if all the good qualities are overshadowed and his ratings are given less by the manager, then that particular rating error will be called as Horn effect. It is Horn effect. Next one, strictness or leniency. Now, strictness or leniency, the problem that occurs when supervisor has a tendency to rate all subordinates either high or low. So average marks or average ratings are given to all. No, it is not average rating. It is a strictness or leniency. Sometimes what happens is average ratings means central tendency, that we will be discussing now. But before that, right now, strictness and leniency. Some raters are very strict in nature. So they will be rating, their ratings will always be low, whereas some raters are very lenient in nature, their ratings will always be higher side. So suppose if an employee who is, say, an average employee, now his performance is being rated by a manager who is having a lenient attitude. Lenient attitude means that he gives good rating to each and every employee of the organization. So he gives good rating to this average employee of also. Now, what will happen at the end? At the end, it will be not good for the organization. But because the average employee was not deserving the ratings which he has received. But because the manager has a leniency type of approach, that whosoever he is rating, he used to rate them in a good manner. Everyone, good ratings were given to each and every person. So it becomes difficult for the organization to come to know that who are good performers who are average performers of the organization if everyone is receiving good ratings at the hand of the manager. Similarly, if if the manager is very strict, if he is rating everyone in a harsh manner, a good employee is also being rated by less points, less grade points. Then what will happen? Again, the organization will be in problem. The organization will be unable to decide that who are the good employees and who are the average employees, because every employee is being rated less by the employer, by the manager. Why? Because he is very strict in nature. He is going to the minute detail and he is not ready to rate the performance in a better or give more marks to the performance of an employee. He always try to deduct the marks. Less, less ratings are given to all the employees whose performance he is rating. It is not that only one manager is rating all the performance. Different departments are being rated by their department heads, by their superiors. So if one person is lenient, suppose the marketing department's uh, manager is having a lenient type of attitude, so everyone in the marketing department, their performance will be shown that everyone is a good performer. And if, say, the finance department, the manager who is given the responsibility, he is very strict in nature, he rates the performance with that particular type only, very strict ratings. That means everyone in the finance department got low rankings, low ratings, low marks. It means that no one fits in the category of good performer. So that is called as strictness and leniency. Now, next one is central tendency. Now, central tendency, as we had discussed earlier also, just before this, a tendency to rate all the employees in same way, such as rating them all average. No good employees, no bad employees, all the employees are average employees. There are some people who have this tendency, and this tendency is called as central tendency, that it is better to rate everyone with average ratings. So if a manager is having this particular tendency, and this is a central tendency, is a rating error, where that particular manager, what he will be doing, that instead of going into details of the performance of individual employee, he feels that it is easier for him, instead of going into detail about their performance, give everyone average rating. So everyone is given average rating, and that if everyone is given average rating without going into detail about their performance, then this type of rating error is called as central tendency. Again, the organization will not be able to distinguish between good performers and average performers, because everyone is average or everyone is good performer. Last one, next one, stereotyping means mental picture that an individual holds about a person because of person's age, religion, caste, gender, etc. Stereotyping, there are people who are, we often say that he is a stereotype of person. Now, these type of person, what they do is mental picture that an individual holds about a person because of that person's gender, age, religion, caste, etc. Now, there are certain people who believe that people from this particular gender are good performer, the other gender people are not so good in manufacturing. So there can be a mental, say, state of mind of a manager where he feels that males are better performer in, say, in the field of manufacturing and operations as compared to females. So he has got that stereotype, he has got that belief. He has not gone into the details of the performance of males and females in the organization, but he has that belief in his mind that males are superior than females when it comes to operations and, say, supply chain or operations and production. So that is his belief. He has not gone into the details. He has not checked the performance, but on the basis of his belief, his mental state, so that person is called as stereotype person. So that error will be called as stereotyping error, where already he is having a belief, he is having a image that this gender is good performer, that particular gender is not so good. This particular caste people are good performers, this particular caste people are not good. This particular religion people are good performers, this particular religion are not good performer. If such type of belief is already there in the mind of a person, and he has got that, say, that type of mental setup, then that particular person will not be impartial when he will be rating the performance of the subordinate. So that type of error is called as stereotyping. Next error is called as recency effect. Now, in recency effect, the rater gives higher weightage to the recent occurrences than the earlier performance. Now, recency effects means the recent performance are given more weightage than the past performance. So that is recency effect. Now, for 7-8 months, one employee was an average employee. But for the last 3-4 months, he has increased his performance. And now he, from average, he has moved to the bracket of good employee. Now, when the performance of this person is rated by a person who gives more weightage to the recent occurrences and who gives less weightage to the past performance, there this particular employee will be given more rating points. Why? Because recently, for the last 1-2 months, he has increased his performance. For last 7-8-9-10 months, his performance was not at all up to the mark. So his last performance or his previous performance is ignored, and his recent performance has overshadowed his previous performance. It has overshadowed. Though 2 months performance has overshadowed the performance of 10 months. 10 months he was average employee. He knew that this particular recency effect is there in the organization. Last year also the same thing was there. So this year, what the person has done, the employee remained an average employee for 10 months. And when he came to know that now the ratings will start taking place, the performance appraisal will be taking place, so immediately he increased his performance and he became a good employee. For 2 months he increased his performance, and because of recency effect, only 2 months performance was considered, and his 8 months performance was not given more weightage, and he got, on the basis of recency effect, he got more rating points for his recent performance, and that is called as recency effect. Now, next one is poor appraisal forms. The appraisal forms, the performance appraisal forms, which are to be filled by the superior who will be performing the who will be monitoring the or evaluating the performance of the subordinate, as well as the self appraisal forms. Now, these forms, if they are poor in nature, that means if the questions are not asked properly in the form, if the information is not sought about the performance of the employee properly in the form, then because of this poor quality of performance appraisal form, the performance appraisal, the results of the performance appraisal cannot be obtained because of this poor performance appraisal form. Next one, lack of rater preparedness. Rater is the person who is rating the performance of the subordinate. That means superior, that means supervisor, that means manager of the organization. Now, this particular manager should be prepared with the rating methods. He should be knowing which method he is employing to rate the performance of the employee. Which method he should be aware of. The technicalities of that methods he should be aware of. How it is to be implemented, how it is to be verified, how it is to be checked, how ratings are to be given. So in that manner, the rater or the manager should be prepared. Otherwise, it will not give good results. Next one, ineffective organizational policies and practices. Last one is very important. Ineffective organizational policies and practices. Ineffective means which are not effective, which are not showing results. Now, last time also we had discussed that each and every organization, whether it's a small organization, large scale organization, or a multinational organization, each and every organization has got written rules and regulations. Every organization is having written norms of work, rules related to promotion, rules related to the transfer of the person, rules related to increment of the person, rules related to giving incentives to the person, rules related to giving benefits to the person, rules related to giving increment or promotion to the person. So every rule is there in the organization, and they are in written form. These rules will be called as effective rule only if whatever is written in the rule is implemented in the organization as it is. If the policies are changed, if the policies are compromised, then we can say that these policies are ineffective policies. So when it will be effective? When the policies are implemented in the organization as it is. When it came to promotion of a particular employee, as the employee was close to the senior manager of the organization, certain rules were compromised for his promotion. They were adjusted and he was promoted in the organization. Now, this is an example of ineffective organizational policies and practices. The fact is that the organization is having written policies, but when it came to implement that policy effectively, the organization was ineffective to implement the policy in a better manner. They compromised certain aspects or certain policies to adjust promotion to a person who was close to the higher authorities. Now, because of these ineffective organizational policies and practices also, we can say performance appraisal cannot be done effectively. It will be done effectively if the policies are implemented in a right manner. So this was related to the rating errors which are encountered, which are faced during the performance appraisal. Next is the performance measurement process that we will take up for discussion tomorrow, as we are very much near to the end of today's session. So we will stop here. Tomorrow again at 6 a.m. we will start with the session, and we will be discussing with the performance measurement process. So thank you everyone for joining today's session. We will meet tomorrow at 6 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.